So we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Chuck Black. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the Campus Vote Project Midwest Regional Manager. And I also help to run the Voter Friendly Campus program. I have another one of our lovely Campus Vote Project staff. If you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name's Safara Menon. I am the Michigan Deputy Coordinator for Campus Vote Project, and I use she, they pronouns. Good to see you all.
And we are going to record this call. We do know that there's a lot of people who said they could not make this call, but we wanted to provide the time and space to talk about how November was for all of your campuses. Even though we know the November election has now passed, we are still very involved in the upcoming Georgia Senate election next Tuesday. So we're still in election mode here at Campus Vote Project. So this webinar is called Writing Your Final Report. All of you, we hope, are here because your campus is applying for the voter-friendly campus designation. This is a 2-year designation that the Campus Vote Project and NASPA put out. I do want to provide an update that we currently have 296 campuses that are going through the program. So we certainly hope come March of 2023 that all 296 will finish the program. So we're just going to jump right in. We just want to briefly review about what the voter-friendly campus program is in the various steps. Then we want to hear from as many people who choose to tell us how November went. What are some of the good things that you saw on your campus? What are some of the things that maybe didn't go so well? Sithara is going to share about there were campuses in her state where students were still voting to a very long time. So while we want to celebrate all the successes, we also just want to hear where we can improve and what Campus Vote Project, what we should think about as we move into 2023 and 2024. I know it is very hard to think about, but we will be in another presidential cycle here soon. So let's just briefly go through, what does your campus have to do to become a voter-friendly campus? If your campus is currently a voter-friendly campus, we are very proud and we're very excited, but it's a 2-year cycle. So if you currently are a voter-friendly campus, that designation is good through 2022. And then in March of 2023, we will announce the new cohort of voter-friendly campuses. We've had campuses who have been a part of this program since we first began. This will be our 4th cycle, and we have several on this call and several across the country who this is their first time. So to earn this prestigious designation, the first step was to submit your statement, and that was pretty much the onboarding process. If you don't get our normal emails, which usually come out about once a month or so, then you probably skip this step, and that is okay. But we definitely want you to let us know so we can make sure you get our normal communication. This statement helps us see who wants to become a part of this program. And as we have said since day we only had the capacity to have 300. So as we're currently sitting at that 296, we have decided that with staff support that we want to keep the number at 300. And quite frank, not every campus who submits will earn the designation. So you wrote your statement. Some campuses did this in 2021 because we started this process all the way back then. So then you wrote your action report. This was, you outlined your goals, you outlined short-term goals, long-term goals. And if you're part of the All-in Democracy Challenge, this is the same sheet. We both follow this Strengthening America Democracy Guide. So if you wrote an action plan for them and did not submit one to us, it's the same thing. So we certainly want to encourage you to be a part of both programs. And then the best part, in my opinion, the most fun part, hopefully the least paperwork part, is actually implementing what you said you were gonna do. So this was, in September and October, your campus had tables, you had events, you had speakers, you gave out different things, and then everything you did in November up till election day. And if you are in a state like Georgia, where you're still in this step, we thank you. So then the final piece of this, each cycle, every 2 years, we ask campuses to submit a final reflection report. And we're going to share that form with you today, and we're going to go through that form. And we collect these reports from all campuses. We evaluate them and we provide you some feedback. But this report is not just for us. We hope that you're using this report to promote the work you have done on your campus. Help sell your program, help give credit and uplift the countless students, staffs, admins, professors that are involved in this. We also want you to reflect in that report what went really well, or what can we improve on. And then our staff, and we're a pretty decent staff, we do go through and we read every single one from every campus. And then we produce a voter-friendly campus report that we then take pieces of different reports from across the country and we uplift and shine, this campus did this. One example in our last report, the Community College of Philadelphia in 2020, and again in 2022, their president named the November election day a day of service. So campus was closed, there was no school, staff did not have to come to campus, and he wanted people to use that day of service, not only to go vote, but volunteer to be a poll worker, go do something good in your to give back. So that was one of the campuses we highlighted. So this report is not just about us seeing, okay, did you implement your report? Did you are you growing your program? But also we will see campuses post these reports on their websites, and they use it to help promote the great work they do. So then finally, and that's a pretty tight deadline of January 31st, because we'll spend the month of February reading through all of them, providing feedback. And then in March of 2023, if you have not been a part of Voter Friendly Campus before, or if you have, it's a really exciting when we formally announce the campuses. We will send out every campus a press toolkit. We get a lot of social media posts that day. We'll send you graphics, press releases, all of that. And it's pretty exciting just to see campuses all across the country will announce, all right, we're part of this small cohort of 200 some campuses that are committed to student voting. So, and once you earn that designation, which is announced in March, it is good for 2023 to 2024. And it goes up on our website, and you can go back and see the first cohort and how we have grown every cycle. And we certainly expect that we're going to grow again with this cycle. But before we dive into what the final report is, and really the different pieces and what will help your campuses become a voter-friendly campus, we want to just hear from our campuses about what worked well in November and what might not have gone so well. So we're gonna turn it over to my colleague, who she'll get us started and gonna share about what happened in Michigan on some of our campuses. So take it away, Safara.
Thanks. Yeah, so I guess just to tell you guys a little bit about what was going on at several of our big Michigan campuses on election day. One of the big recent changes in election law that we've seen in Michigan is for same-day registration. So in 2018, a law was passed that allowed for same-day registration in the state. And this was one of the first big elections that people really utilized in-person same-day registration. And so we saw, first of all, it was really great that we saw a lot of people using same-day registration, getting registered to vote, and actually utilizing this process to be able to vote on election day. But we did see at several of our biggest campuses in the state really, really long lines because of that. So at University of Michigan's Ann Arbor campus in particular, we saw extraordinarily long lines. This was also true of some of our other big campuses, especially Michigan State University. But I personally was working at one of the clerk's offices in Ann Arbor that is utilized by a lot of the University of Michigan students. So I'm going to focus on telling you guys about that one because that's where I was physically located. A little bit of background on how this was set up that I think might be helpful is that in Michigan for same-day registration, you can only register at a clerk's office, not at a polling place. And the city of Ann Arbor has one clerk's office and also had 2 temporary satellite locations on the University of Michigan's Central Campus and their North Campus. So there were 3 total locations that people could use. The permanent clerk's office location where I was is about 10 minutes from campus. So it was used by a lot of students, primarily by students on election day. And we saw a lot of really, really long lines where students were waiting 4 to 6 hours on election day to register to vote and to cast their ballot. And because of those really long lines, we also had students voting pretty late into the night. So at the location where students were in line the longest, the last person cast their ballot at 2 a.m. In the morning on the 9th. And they were in line by 8 p.m. because they cut people off. So that means they were standing there in line for about over 6 hours, which is pretty unfortunate. We don't want any of our students to have to be waiting in line for 6 hours. Another thing that is in play here is it's Michigan, it's cold. And so we had a lot of people waiting outside in the cold, unfortunately, for several hours before the line got to the point where it was only inside the building. Luckily, we had a lot of volunteers bringing things like pizza, hot drinks, blankets, things like that for all of these students. And helping them be able to stay in line. But we definitely don't think anyone should have to wait in line that long, and a lot of people weren't able to. I think it's pretty lucky that we had most people willing to stay in line. They were excited to vote, they were willing to wait in line that long, but obviously there were people who had to leave. We had students who had classes to go to, exams to go to, jobs to go to, so they just didn't have the option of waiting in line that long. Most people who showed up, expected they would just be there for an hour or so and back out the door. So we did unfortunately have some people who just weren't able to vote because they didn't have time to wait in line that long. Um, and I think the other thing was just that a lot of students, though, were willing to wait, which was really exciting. We saw huge numbers of people who did register and who did vote. And all of our clerk staff were working, round the clock to actually help these people register and help them, actually get their ballots cast, and then counting all night. So we definitely had some like positives of it, in that a lot of people were able to use same-day registration that otherwise wouldn't have been able to vote at all. But definitely the lines were certainly a factor that we hope to change in the future. I will say, we only saw this at some of our biggest campuses, so it's really an issue of just like scale. There's so many students at these schools. So that was kind of the main factor to consider there. But overall, we're pretty glad that we had same-day registration, that we had so many students able to vote in the first place. So I think overall positive.
Awesome. So we now just want to have a casual conversation. If people would like to share what happened on their campus, anything they saw that was super exciting, anything that such as Sathara shared, it's super exciting that students waited and they wanted to be a part of it. But it's also a problem that in this day and age, there are places where people have to wait 3 to 4, sometimes longer hours to cast their vote. So I think the best way to do this, if you can just raise your virtual hand, if you would like to share about what happened at your campus, and we'll call on people. Or you can just speak up. Jill Hawkins Wright.
Yeah, hi. I'm with the University of Illinois in Springfield, at the Springfield campus. And one of the things that I think for us helped kind of curb that election day madness was just having early voting on campus and for a whole week before the election. So that way students, and it was held in our student union, which is, the hub of the campus, and all the foods and the student union. So, students could just kind of pop over and vote and register and take care of everything leading up to that. So I think just having that on campus and being in a really convenient location, I think was really successful for us.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share? Or things that you, yes.
This is Dr. Gary Sorensen from Eastern Arizona College in Thatcher, Arizona. We're a small 2-year community college, and this is our first semester being involved with the Campus Vote Project. We also got looped into the MTV Early Vote Day initiative, so we were able to have an early election day on campus on the 28th. That worked out really good. We had about 150 students out of 1,500 full-time students on campus that came and had hot dogs and pizza and sodas, and the polls were open for from 10 to 2, and there was no waiting. We were able to get people through rather quickly. We had amazing cooperation with our county recorder that helped set that up. And then that same location was used for the community on election day. And at the most, people had to wait 5 or 10 minutes. So we were really impressed with the support that we got from the Campus Vote Project crew and from MTV. One of our democracy fellows was asked to do several interviews with the local news media, and that gave him some really good experience. And overall, we probably had more civic engagement from our students and the campus than we have in the past 20 years. So it was a real good thing being involved with Campus Vote and the MTV crew. So it was a good thing for us.
We love to hear that. Congrats. It is, I mean, in Arizona is such a big, important state. All of our states are very important, but we are so excited about how successful that was. And your comment about, this has been the most involved in 28 years, I think speaks to how important it is. And when you have people like yourself supporting students voting, it makes this all possible. We'd love to hear from a couple other people. Can be the good, the bad, anything. David Kimball, take it away.
Hi, I'm at the University of Missouri St. Louis, and our campus was a polling place for the first time this year, both for election day and then for a 2-week early voting period. And early voting was brand new in Missouri as well. So we spent a fair amount of time just trying to get the word out about that our campus is a polling place, both to students and faculty and staff on our campus and the surrounding community. Missouri had a U.S. Senate race, but it wasn't a super competitive one. So our turnout wasn't as high as probably Michigan or other states. Thankfully, we didn't have people waiting in line till 2 a.m. The lines were somewhat long right first thing in the morning, but were short thereafter. So that's sort of a brief report. We did some other stuff on campus also to promote voter registration and help students with that.
Thank you. Anyone else like to share? All right, well, thank you all who shared. So as we, so Sathara shared her wonderful remarks. Thank you, Sathara. So we're now gonna really focus on, what's this last piece of the puzzle to become a voter-friendly campus. And I wanna share one of the things I mentioned. We produce this voter-friendly campus guide report where we take pieces of campus reports. We then have this professionally made, and at various NASPA and various conferences that we should show up, we bring this report and we pass it out. And it's obviously exciting that a lot of conferences are back in person, but this past spring in Baltimore during the NASPA annual conference, we had a couple campuses who their vice president or provost or whatever had gotten one of these. And in the back of it, we list every campus who gets the voter-friendly campus designation. And we've had campuses say, well, why is my campus not a part of this? And well, we're going to put that question back on them. Well, why is your campus not a part of this? We know that there's more than 300 campuses around the country who are doing some sort of civic engagement, student democratic voting engagement efforts, but they're not getting the recognition. So we want to make sure that it gets out and that story gets out. One of you mentioned how your student got some press. I think one of the really cool things with Voter Friendly Campus is it does get a lot of press. And NASPA, who's the National Student Affairs membership, is essentially nonprofit. They have, you know, a big legitimate group. So it isn't just us as little campus vote project. So people know that this is a trusted thing. This is a nonpartisan thing, and this is an important thing. So we have actually this year, because of how much this has grown, we added a second communication staff person, because there are people, we want to get the campuses the recognition. We want to talk to the press. We want people to know that this work is happening at campuses of all sizes in all states. It doesn't matter if, you know, you're a battleground state or not. It is still so important that students are voting. So Sithara is going to drop the website into the chat, and this will be distributed widely somewhat soon. But this is essentially the form that outlines what should be in your final report. I want to preface by saying some campuses will submit a report that is a couple pages. Some are going to produce, you know, this 50-page thing. You don't have to do a huge 50-page report that's in color and has all those photos. If you do, that's fantastic. And some do use it for their own internal fundraising. But to earn the Voter Friendly Campus designation, we just ask that you include each of these pieces and try to respond to the questions. If you choose to go in depth, that's great. But we want this report not just to be something that we use to ensure that your campus should become a voter-friendly campus, but we want you to use this report to really analyze what worked, what didn't work, and share it with everyone who's involved in your student voting coalition. You can produce this as a PDF, a Word file. We have even campuses who will put this together as a PowerPoint. So the key pieces that would make a strong report are the different sections outlined. And I'm not going to read through all of them, but we ask that you think about some of these questions as you're writing this report. It is helpful if you put your report kind of into these different sections. But we also, if you have photos of things that your campus did in 2021 and 2022, share them. If you have videos, stories, anything. And also let us know, is your campus voting team? Is there a website? Is there a Twitter? Is there a Facebook? We can follow y'all if you follow us. So after you produce this report, we just ask that you fill out the contact information. If the contact has changed, we just ask that you let us know, so that way we can update our system. Then you submit your final report. And if you have any other things you would like to share, we know NSOLV, and I'm not even going to guess when the next NSOLV report will come out. But if you have any old NSOLV reports that you would like to share that we don't have, please share them. We're following pretty much the same format that we have in the past. We have certainly changed some things. We're trying to make this as easy as possible, but we want to hear your stories. We want to hear your successes. I think, to me, the two biggest pieces of this is, let's think about beyond 2022. How are you going to continue to engage and educate students about the democratic process? We know there are some states that don't have elections in odd number years, or might only have a spring primary or a spring race. Let us know if you don't even have any races. But then let's also, what are things that you can start doing in 2023, regardless if you have a local or state race or you don't, to start to prepare for 2024. And then I think the other piece of this, which is, I think, very helpful to us, are what are some of the challenges? What are barriers that you see in your campus? Is it a lack of funding for democratic engagement? Is it a lack of interest, a lack of partners? There are certainly things that we can do as a national org to better support your campuses. And we have only been around, this is our 10 years, but we are constantly trying to think about how can we improve Campus Vote project. So this section on what are the challenges, we want to think about what can we do as Campus Vote project to better support your campuses. So we know this is a lot of information that needs to go into a report, but it's very important. It's not just to help us, but it's to certainly help you in your campus. So all this has to be submitted by January 31st. We know that can seem like a long way away. It will be here before we know it, but the form is now up, and your campus is free to start to submit. After the January 31st deadline, all of our staff, if you live in a state where we have staff, our staff will be in contact to provide you feedback. And if you live in a state where we don't have staff, myself or someone else will be in touch. But we want to continue this conversation. And then we'll evaluate all these reports, and in March, regardless if you're named a voter-friendly campus or not, you'll get a notification, and then we do our big press event and we promote this and get the recognition campuses deserve. So I know this is a lot. For some people, this is your first time seeing the report. For some of our campuses, they've done this a couple times, but we want to just see if there's any questions on the report or anything Campus Vote project, and Sitar and I can try to answer. And I'm going to drop my email. While I'm the Midwest Regional Manager, I know some of you won't necessarily live in a Midwest state. I am also the main contact for the Voter Friendly Campus program. So you can feel free to reach out, myself or anyone on our staff. If you need help writing this, we can set up a one-on-one. That's a very good question. So believe it or not, there have been campuses who, when it comes time to submit their report, they will submit like not even a page, where they don't even cover any of the things. They will, I can think of a campus who submitted their action plan as a report, and they literally just changed action plan as report, and there was no updates, no feedback, and we're like, hey, this isn't an actual final report. Or if we get your final report and say maybe you never wrote an action plan, or this is the first time we've heard from you. We do have a high success rate of if you submitted your statement, you submitted your action plan, you submit your final report, we certainly have a high success rate of people becoming the voter-friendly campuses, but there are always cases where it just doesn't work out, and it is fortunate. But if, you know, you have done your best, you have submitted everything, you try to respond to these questions to the best that your campus can, your chances of getting the designation are certainly high. So the question about NSOLVE, I don't know. And I'm not even going to make an estimate because then people be like, hey, you said this. I want to say sometime in the fall. I mean, there's still, I mean, I live in Pennsylvania. We still have a county who has not certified, and the state certification deadline has passed. So it's gonna take months and months. So I would guess sometime in the fall, but I don't ever want to give someone a date on time. I know, or they'll be like, Chuck Black said this. Yeah, it is. I would guess usually October, but you know, I'm not gonna guess. Any other questions? And Sathara did share there are examples on our website of some of the reports in the past. And as I said, if you want to write that 50-page, beautiful colored, lots of photos, professionally done report, go ahead. But if you don't, and as long as you answer the questions, that's also okay. So feedback from, are you talking about your action plan? So action plans, so this can get a little confusing. The action plan that you submitted to the All-In Challenge is the same action plan that you submit to us. In the summer, after that May 31st deadline that both of us had, you should have gotten feedback. If you did an amended action plan, only the All-In Challenge provides additional feedback. We do not. So at some point you will receive additional feedback if you submitted to the All-In Challenge, but you only get that from their team, not from us. Their program is structured that you can submit it a couple different times. Ours is you get feedback just the one time, just because of staff capacity. But I do want to just give them a plug. If you're not part of the All-In Challenge, we want to encourage you. They do another recognition program where you get a seal based on your NSOLVE data. They also give out different recognitions for the best action plans, the best turnout. And we, as I said, we work very close together on the action plan aspect of it. We don't want campuses have to reinvent the wheel. So the action plan you submit for voter-friendly campus is the same for us. And we hope campuses will become a part of both. All right, any other questions? These have been great questions. And if you if you're in one of the states where we have staff, and Sathara, if I miss anyone, please let me know. Those states are Texas, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin. We have state coordinators and a state deputy in all 10. All of their contact info is on our website. All of them are wonderful people. If you want them to review your report or just have conversations with them, they will. And if you are not in one of those 10 states, you are welcome to email myself. There we have several staff who are part of our National Voter Friendly Campus team. If I don't have the capacity to support, we certainly will provide that, but we're more than happy to read through a rough draft, have any conversations. All right, any other questions? All right, well, this concludes our November 2022 webinar. We will be posting the recording, the website to submit the form that Sathara dropped, which if you could drop in one more time, that would be great. It is now public as of a few hours ago. So you're the first bunch of people to see this form, but we will share this out to all of our campuses so they can get their reports in. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. And with that, we hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you in the new year. Thank you.